David Zaritsky for the Bond Experience. Welcome back. All right, this is one that I think you may find a bit interesting, especially if you watch my channel for some time, because we've all had situations or moments where a loved one or an acquaintance or even somebody that we're meeting for the first time asks us some questions about our Bond fandom. And it's really around to the level of which we're a Bond fan. Yeah, what's that? You didn't know that there were levels, a sort of veritable layer cake? Oh, there is. I mean, first of all, you have somebody that is a fan of Bond. And this is somebody that just enjoys the movies. Calvin Dyson calls them normies or normal people. They're the ones that when there's a Bond film out, they'll go see it once, maybe twice at the most. They enjoy Bond films when they see them in catch as catch can. But it's just a regular series or genre of the movie. Then you have the superfan. Now the superfan suddenly seems like it makes a big jump up, but a superfan is just somebody that takes that to another level. They have a focus, they have a passion for James Bond. Maybe they own all the movies. Maybe they gravitate to that. Maybe they have a couple of little baubles and pieces on their office desk at work to demonstrate how much of a big fan they are. Then you have the next layer, which is the fanatic. Now, what a horrible name, fanatic. Sounds maniacal, right? But the fanatic is somebody that sort of lives and breathes the world of James Bond. Maybe they're part of the James Bond lifestyle that, I was going to use the word infest. That's too harsh. It imbibes, that's bad too, their world. It infiltrates. It's a part of who they are, and it's this invisible Bond hobby, as we call it, but it's still there. It's a hobby that we encounter every single day, sometimes multiple times a day. And you've got this sort of interesting delineation within the fanatic world. So you've got what's called Bond aficionados. What is this? All this is a subject matter expert in the world of Bond that somehow qualifies them to not be a fanatic because they're a subject matter expert. So it gives them a better title, but guess what? They're still a fanatic. And that's what this video is kind of all about. It's living in this world of being a Bond fanatic. We'll simmer it down a little bit and call it a Bond fan. And this being as considered maybe weird. Now we've got to also focus on this word weird, because it's a very subjective word. It's like the word love. It means so many different things to many people. Weird simply means different. And it doesn't mean different in the most general sense. It means different to the person who's saying it. So if I was to look at you and go, you're weird, chances are what I'm really, if you translate it, I'm really saying is that you're different than me. Now, weird could be my rankings for Bond are different. You're weird, David. You put Quantum in your top 10. That's weird. So weird is very subjective, and it's this terrible compartmentalization, this label that people love to do. They love to say, well, that's different than me. That's strange. And we know as a fact that people tend to fear things that are different, whether it's political affiliations, religious affiliations, and yes, which Bond film you like the best. People fear differences, and it's a bit strange. And by the way, not everybody feels this way, but a lot of people in this world fear differences. So what do? It helps them mentally and philosophically to place a title on you of weird, to denote that you are different than me and therefore weird. But let's break this down, because let's talk about the world of James Bond and weird. I know, we're getting into some crazy territory here, but you've got the person that is in the Bond community that has a passion and focus. I include myself in this. And what's weird about that to some people is some people just don't have a passion and focus. Some people don't have hobbies, or their hobby is sports, let's say, or piano, or any other million of things. And because yours focuses on a character, on a movie that's 60 plus years old, it's considered weird. The passion and focus is different than yours, or your passion and focus is elevated. I'm going to talk about personal stories here that I've had people who will maybe look at a collection like this or look at a channel like this, and they don't say that it's weird, but they're kind of agog and aghast of, my gosh, your passion is so extreme. Well, that has a lot more to do with my competitive attitude than wanting to be quote unquote weird. My passion and focus is all about trying to be the best that I can be. The best I can be at work, the best what I can be in my hobby, and the best that I can be in myself, etc. And therefore, this tends to be the result. You put a lot of time and focus and passion into it. I have a lot of passion for the character because of what it brings me. Escapism, all these wonderful things, relationships with all of you, etc. So my passion and focus is uber focused. That's weird to some people, to have that type of engagement on anything. The other thing is, some people find it weird, time and money. So I'm going to put this under the moniker of investments. So think about time and money that we spend on James Bond. The time that it takes to do videos, that it takes to do editing if you're a content creator, or even the amount of time that you consume these things, or you're on Instagram, or how many times have you watched Goldfinger? That time spent can be seen as weird to people. But it all connects back to your passion and focus. This is your safe space, right? When you're stressed and pressured and you have something unique in the world, a problem that needs to be solved. And the stress, you can always go back to James Bond because it's this very comfortable familiarity to it. And it suddenly calms you down. It's why people collect Star Wars figures and all these other things around nostalgia. It brings you back to a simpler, safer time. And then there's the money. Now, I myself have received arched eyebrows, even by people close to me, about my money spent against and with James Bond. A big part of my channel talks about the products of James Bond. You could see it like my entire surround sound here. But that makes people think, wow, you spent so much money to that, that's weird. Now, I can't deny that thinking if the weirdness is the fact that maybe I've taken money out of my family's account, or we're not eating, or we're not living the life that we could live because I'm spending too much on James Bond. I live within my means. I live within my means, meaning I make sure that the James Bond acquisitions I make are well within the means that my family, my socio-economical status that I've helped to create embraces, that it's not far-reaching. And I hope you do the same, and I think you do. I think people have to be given a regard that they are smart enough and organized and disciplined enough to not live outside of their means, especially kind of if you're into James Bond. You seem to be a competitive and organized and disciplined individual. I mean, that's what James Bond is all about too. So they tend to follow these whole ideas of professionalism. Part of that is handling your finances correctly. So yes, if you were destitute and still collecting Bond, or putting your family in hock because of Bond, that's a bit weird. It's also wrong. But if you're not, then it's not weird. It's using your funds and investment where you want to, and it's not weird. The other thing is lifestyle. Now, I'm wearing a 007 shirt. Typically, I would not walk out of here, but it's Sunday morning when I'm recording this. I wouldn't walk out of here with a 007 shirt, typically speaking, unless I was going to meet like friends and people from the community. But look, the lifestyle is surrounding me. I put on my Aqua Terra this morning. I've got Bond clothing galore. When I go to work, I've got a whole segment on that. So the lifestyle, if I was to say to people, I wear some piece of Bond clothing and an accessory every day, they might denote it as weird, because immediately, and I've done videos on this, they think I'm dressing as the character, or cosplay, as opposed to somebody that is motivated, that is influenced by the character themselves, what they wear, not just the type of clothing, but the style. Unless you think that your style was born out of some placenta moment when you cut the umbilical cord, you would be wrong. We all are influenced by different aspects in our lives for the style that we have created, that becomes our own. It could be from watching celebrities, watching characters like James Bond. It could be production and marketing and all these things. And it could be friends and influence and content creators. There's all these different things that can influence style. So for me, style can be so personal that yes, it can be seen as something very different. You know, we've got people in the Bond community, you may be watching this right now, that dress in a blazer every single day, not because they have to, but because they want to. They believe that this Bond journey also has to do with wearing a certain style and type of clothing. Is that weird? Or is that them taking their personal proclivities, their wants, their dislikes, and organizing them against a character? To me, there's really nothing weird with that. It's just sort of simple. The other thing is engagement. Now, let me explain what this is all about. And I just have this feeling that a lot of you are going to be able to empathize with this, maybe even sympathize. Good Lord. The whole idea of engagement simply means that you as a Bond fan feel very excited, very comfortable, and very motivated to spend time with other Bond fans. We have gather-alls, we have Operation Solex, we have Cue the Music, we have all these different events being created, all these gatherings at pubs. And the reason is that we love to get around other people and engage like-minded individuals that love James Bond. And I've had a whole video discussion with friends about this. Why is this engagement not only not weird, it's more the norm? And the reason tends to be is that when we engage with other Bond fans, when we connect, it does start with Bond. Who's your favorite Bond? What Bond series do you like the best? What parts of Bond are you the most focused on? Is it the literary? Is it the style? Is it the movies? But then all of that falls away and you realize that so many aspects of this person that you thought were all about the James Bond friendships fall away. And there are other things that you enjoy, the types of music, the types of food, locations, trips. And lo and behold, they're not Bond related. So not only is the engagement of Bond fans that become more and more through time, is it not weird? It's common, it's joyous, and it's something that we all tend to embrace. The other thing that sometimes we need to focus on is, what does this whole idea of embracing Bond take to us? And again, this is part of filling in the caulking gaps of people thinking that this is weird. Look at you, to what level are you taking this? Bond has brought me personally so much heightened creativity, celebration with other people around films and moments of escape, and community. That is the one thing that it has delivered in spades. And this is the anti-weird of being a James Bond fan or fanatic or aficionado or subject matter expert or whatever title you want to call yourself. And that is everybody, I don't care who you are who's watching this right now, whatever title you just gave yourself, everybody wants to be heard. It's a fundamental. Everybody wants to be heard. Everybody wants to feel relevant. They want to feel like they're making an impact. They're doing something. Their life is meaningful. And then, and this is going to sound very kumbaya, folks, stay with me on this. Everybody wants to feel loved and appreciated. And the whole idea of feeling like you belong is one of the reasons why we generate and gravitate to James Bond. Yes, it's the community feel, but we also know that people around the world may be shopping for the same things. They may be engaged in the same movie or the same event, but we're doing this together. It's not something that we're doing as a miser or siloed. James Bond is really nothing that you do in isolation. It's something you do together. And again, that type of being heard, relevant, belonging, even love, is something that is the antithesis of weird. So, if there are people out there that really want to generate this idea that your Bond fandom is weird, that when you buy a Bond thing, you've got to hide it in the recess of your basement and wait, no, that's me actually. That you can't tell anybody about it. You've got to kind of sneak it in or anything like that. Then I would say basically, lose your embarrassment gene, Lose your fear of being called weird, because chances are the people calling you weird just are saying that you're different than them. And being different is something you want to embrace. So, if that's the case, Your Honor, I'm hoping that the weird factor is not something that people count as a check-off of their hobby, and instead they brace the differences. They embrace the community and what we bring to the table. There you go. Don't feel weird, ever. What we're doing here is wonderful. It's fun. It's exciting. We'll all escape together. Anyway, enough of that. Talk to you soon. This has been David Zwirtsky for the Bond Experience, and we'll see you real soon. Take care. Thanks for watching this episode. If you want to be up on the latest from the Bond Experience, just click on this subscribe and subscribe to our channel. You're going to get all the latest and greatest information, plus some exclusive content. And by the way, speaking of content, here's something especially for you, just because we know you. Talk to you soon.